The hero's arc and social oppression in Beyond the Black Rainbow. Beyond the Black Rainbow by visionary director and producer Panos Cosmatos has been one of, if not my favourite film of late. The film takes place in 1983 in a secret laboratory, the Arboria Institute, which practices testing and researching protagonist Elena, a proposed heavily sedated woman with an unexplained sixth sense. The film revolves around Elena attempting to escape the Institute and also the clutches of Barry Nile, the proprietor of the facility and overall antagonist. It is my interpretation that the film, although having a very simple plotline, it pursues this very deep and thought-provoking idea behind society and ostracism of some subcategories of people. Cosmatos explores this by utilising character, lighting, and most importantly, unconventional framing. The film doesn't include very many characters, and I believe it portrays each character as a figure of these different levels of power within society, with Professor Nile as the head of this social hierarchy, perhaps representing people with most power, such as a CEO of a large conglomerate, a judge, or a businessman. Elena is a symbol of proposed defectors, anarchists, criminals, perhaps misjudged or taken at face value, a threat to society. Then there's the ones in between, like Rosemary Nile, or the Institute's one and only worker, Margot, seen only as dispensable and unimportant in the eyes of society, like a lowly drone in a colony of ants, societies unaffected by their disappearance. Finally, there's the Sentienauts, arguably the cause of the most fear in the film. It is in my interpretation that these cyborg mutants are the symbol of the new generation, reliant on technology and modernization. They pose the most threat towards Elena aside from Nile himself, almost signifying the threat of the new age upon society. The zeitgeist behind the digital era, turning millennials into mindless zombies, hungry for screen time. Elena is the figure of purity and innocence within Beyond the Black Rainbow, yet to be corrupted by the power of a capitalist society. First appearing in an almost bridal white gown, lit by this luminescent white light. It can be argued that what sets Elena apart from the majority of the rest of the cast is her unsoiled air about her, dichotomized to the brutal and debauched facility. When she is first introduced, we are shown a very tight, extreme close-up on her eye. Combined with this pertained narrow aspect ratio, makes for a very claustrophobic scene, signifying her entrapped state, not only physically, but mentally. The audience is made to feel like she is being punished for being different, and suffers the same consequence by having to view it through this cramped perspective. Not to mention the persistent film grain, which is quite intrusive at times, emphasizing the idea that she is never alone, always to be scorned and ridiculed. Nile and the Arboria Institute have kept her here, like a caged animal, isolated from society. This is perhaps why the ending of the film is so beguiling, as when Elena finally escapes the facility, the scene becomes very dull and grey, signifying that even though she has sacrificed everything to try and enter society, it may not have been exactly what she had come to expect. In a way, she never escapes Nile. As she finally puts her past as a prisoner of the Arboria Institute behind her, she becomes a docile minion to a society, to again be shepherded by these powerful figures and institutions. A protagonist from another of Cosmatos' films, Mandy, shares a similar character arc. After the death of his wife, Mandy Bloom, Red Miller enters a path of destruction to take revenge on his late wife's killer. Red parallels the innocence of Elena at the beginning of the film, as he and his wife enjoy life without the tribulations and regulation of society. The film again features this powerful group, made up wholly of demon marauder bikers, equal to the power and dominion that Nile attains in Beyond the Black Rainbow, only regularly appearing to taunt Red about the murder of his spouse. However, Red gives into this swelling anger, and begins his journey to destroy both these demon bikers and the mysterious cult leader, Jeremiah. Much like the bikers, Red consumes a powerful drug, sacrificing his old life and becoming practically immortal and invulnerable, although his mind and consciousness fades as he becomes a being of destruction and chaos, hell-bent on revenge. The cinematography and lighting especially project this throughout the film, as at the start the film maintains quite close and cold-looking shots, similar to Elena, suggesting the theme of being pure yet isolated. However, by the end of the film, Red almost parallels the same arc of Elena and resorts to this life of unbridled corruption and power. Panos utilizes more open, wide and long shots, combined with a harsh red lighting resembling that of Professor Nile, to signify the horror and impropriety that follows dominion and authority. Possibly the most intriguing character, especially in my eyes, is Professor Barry Nile. Nile is the pinnacle of this top-of-the-food chain persona, in control of this almost godlike entity portrayed in this, again, unexplained, omnipotent pyramid, disciplining the flow of Elena's sixth sense. In the first scene, depicting both himself and Elena, Nile is once again covered in this dark and rich red lighting. He taunts Elena, in this almost oddly perverted manner, a low and gravelly voice, tormenting as he inflicts pain upon Elena, as she sits helplessly under his predominance. After all, the audience is granted the knowledge of what Nile had to undertake to get this power, submerging himself into a deep, undisclosed black pool, only to return as a deformed and mutilated shadow of who he once was, echoing the likeness to these demon bikers of Mandy. Although, the part that intrigues me most about Nile is the dichotomy between his persona. In the Arborea facility, he is made out to be this power-mongering figure. However, this is juxtaposed in his home life where the audience is shown his vulnerabilities, making him out to appear similar to Elena in a sense. This is mainly portrayed through the cinematography, utilising copious amounts of negative space to make him appear isolated and weak. In one scene, he almost disappears off the side of the screen, leaving the shot empty and cold. The uncovering of Nile's transformation is as well significant to his weaker half. At this point, Nile is as different and shamed upon as Elena. The cinematography becomes a lot tighter. The red lighting is removed. All of a sudden, this pressure that was always on Elena is shifted onto Nile, making the audience almost feel sorry for him. It signifies the harsh brutality of capitalism and how it has the impulse to remove anything it deems too weak to rule, seen in how Nile is almost immediately murdered after he undertakes this transition.
Elena. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me!
It presents the tragedy that Nile was forever doomed to follow the same fate as his predecessor, Professor Arborea, a man only seen as a shriveled up and exhausted resource. In conclusion, the irony comes within how the entirety of the film, Elena is the one presented as this caged animal, but by the end of the film, Nile appears even weaker, as Elena ascends in supremacy. I believe the film says a lot about society and capitalism with its fluctuating judgments, its ability to make certain groups of people seem almost inhuman just for being different, and its tendency to cut off those who retain power and authority in a heartbeat.